1, 2, 3, and... Well, all I have to offer is myself alone. Everything you're seeing to the dark unknown. Gotta take it all because I come this way. I hope you find enough to make you wanna stay. Come on down. You don't like it on your mountain anyhow. Come on down. I know you're gonna love me with your feet on the ground. Don't you try to change me like the ones before. Love me now or leave me, 'cause there ain't no more. There is no potential in the here and now. You're never gonna change it 'cause you've passed the how. Come on down. You don't like it on your mountain anyhow. Come on down. I know you're gonna love me with your feet on the ground now. Well, I confess to everything I'm love and hate. The riches of the nations and the empty plate. The devil and the saint are mingled all in one. 'Cause one without the other simply ain't no fun. Ooh, come on down. You don't like it on your mountain anyhow. Come on down. I know you're gonna love me with your feet on the ground. I am who I am, and if it's not enough, all that I can tell you is it's really tough. Hope you find the one who lets your love light shine, the one whose imperfections you will never find. Ooh, come on down. You don't like it on your mountain anyhow. Come on down. I know you're gonna love me with your feet on the ground now. Oh, come on down. You don't like it. You don't like it. Ooh, come on down. Know you're gonna love me with your feet on the ground now. Know you're gonna love me with your feet on the ground now. Know you're gonna love me with your feet right on the ground. Now, 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 now. Now, 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 now. Whoopee!
Well, welcome to another episode of A Question of Meaning with
Howdy, folks.
Arthur and Katie. And we thought we'd talk about relationships some today. And when we first talked about this, we actually said relationships almost at the same moment. Like, oh, yeah, that's great. We're still thinking alike. That's a good sign after 30 years of relationship. But I thought more male-female relationship, and Arthur was thinking more human relationship, just, on a general way. And so I think we'll cover, hopefully, both of those. You could even
take it beyond that. Not even human, just relationship, period.
Wow.
Relating to the world around you, the universe, death.
Interesting. Okay.
Relations.
Relations.
Are you having relations? That Eddie Murphy, the old grandmother.
I love Eddie
Sometimes
Murphy.
I even have relations with myself. That starts things off on a low note.
Yes. Well, you've been
That's
wanting to talk about sex for some
much
time
of a job,
now.
but it's my job. That's right. We promised sex, but we're actually experimenting with some new lighting and having a little,
Yeah. So anyway, hopefully this is going to be out of order. So it's not going to come after our religion and politics.
Correct. That's coming up.
That's right.
Sex is definitely on the calendar.
So anyway, I wanted to talk about that song some because that kind of, for me, sets the tone here. As I just briefly mentioned, Arthur, which I will also briefly mention, Arthur wrote all the songs that we do on this show.
Well, let me mention something really quick just before you say that. Give us a call. We haven't had one call. We've been on the show. This is our 5th week on the show. We haven't gotten one phone call. Just pick up your cell phone from wherever you're sitting or lying or whatever and call 808 0414.
No,
that's not right.
Silly.
No, it isn't.
It's too much like our old phone. 808-8014.
808-808-8014. Didn't I say that? I think I said that. 808-8014, and just say, I'm watching.
Don't you
don't
wish
have
you
to
could
agree with anything. Just say you're watching. Just let us know we're not broadcasting into a vacuum.
And anyway,
really would appreciate
that's
it.
funny
I'm sorry.
since we just had a disagreement about whether he said that or not. And sometimes, I mean, don't you wish every moment of life was taped so you could do the rerun, hit the rewind button and go back and say, yeah, see, look, I was right.
It was like a cartoon that I saw once about a woman's lying in bed and says, can't I say one thing without you, verifying it? And the guy's going through, he has a whole wall of files by the bed, and he's rifling through the files to verify what she actually said.
Well, that was the guy that did that, that comedian that did that wonderful black man who was blind, and he was,
Oh, yeah, Dave Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle. He did something with it. Remember, it was like a big, you were carrying someone around on your back that was like a courtroom stenographer that was taking notes of everything.
So they, that's right.
So anyway, back on track. Come on. So this shows a little bit here. We're just demonstrating what relationship looks like after 30 years. But that song, Come On Down, Arthur wrote shortly after we met. And I was really offended by it, as a matter of fact.
As well she should have been. Who do you think I wrote it to about?
I was like, I'm not on any mountain. I mean, what are you talking about? But at the same time,
guys out there can relate to what I'm saying.
He had definitely put me on a pedestal, but I thought I deserved to be on the pedestal. That was my natural place with him worshiping me. And,
what did Gertrude Stein say? I think it was Gertrude Stein said that female virtue is man's greatest invention.
Yeah, and there's all sorts of variations. We don't want to get too bogged down in male-female relationships.
Please.
But I mean, I think that song, it's really for what the essence of what we've discovered, works in a relationship, and certainly not anything we've perfected by any stretch. We certainly still have our problems, but that equality is what we're really looking for in a relationship, and loving each other the way we are rather than some idealized image of who that person is or could be. And I think that's what a lot of women really, really make mistakes about in life. I mean, there's even, I'm trying to think of something I'm referring to that, women talk about improving the man. It's like their lifelong project is, I've actually, oh yeah, that's right. A woman who was married to someone for, many years, got, somebody complimented them on something their husband did. And they were like, yeah, I've been working years to get him to that point. Like,
it was on a Roseanne show. She said Dan didn't come out of a box.
Well,
like
that's
that.
another
It took a
way.
lot of work.
Yeah, so like women see their husband as their project in life to improve to some specification of what a good man should be like, instead of the way he is to start off. And like the woman is the image of perfection, and men have to be. Women come out of the box perfect, but men have to be altered and made
No
over.
pun intended. I think there's a reason for that.
Yes.
We have a theory about all this stuff.
Of course.
That we call it the pit and the tusk analogy. That the male style in life, or their survival technique, could be epitomized by a bull elephant trumpeting, stampeding through the jungle, flattening everything in its path, brute force. No woman in her right mind, and men are just simply physically superior. We're bigger and we're stronger than most females. So women have to use a slightly more intelligent, some might say devious. You'd be a fool to stand up to a charging bull elephant. So the female survival technique involves a pit, a deep pit.
Could even get the Freudian.
I think there's actually a proverb that says a woman is a deep pit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Watch your way, my son. The survival technique of the female is epitomized by a deep pit dug in the jungle clearing up ahead, with sharpened bamboo stakes embedded at the bottom, and a delicate lattice work, a gentle, delicate, pretty lattice work of twigs and leaves covering the trap, the elephant trap, and the male, whoa, down the hatch. And it's simply a matter of power. Our work very much sees the universe as an interaction of forces. That's what it is. Plasma, when a window of opportunity opens, it's filled by a force that needs that space.
There's no vacuums.
There's no vacuums.
Right.
And, the relationship dominated, all that stuff. It's just, it's just vying for power because we think that the human race is entirely ego-dominated, with the exception of enlightened saints. So it's all about
right.
it's ego is simply trying to assert its way. I was at a guitar store in San Francisco once, and the really kind of big city owner of this cool guitar store, I was trying to weasel him down on a deal, and he said, "Look, we both want to get our way. You just play a nice guy, and I play a tough businessman, but we both want to get our way, right?" And that's all it is. Mm-hmm. It's just a different survival technique and approach.
Right. So that being weak, playing it weak, is equally a power play as playing it strong.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying here.
That's right.
And that's very much true in all relationships, not just a male-female relationship.
Great book on that subject called Sometimes a Great Notion by Ken Kesey, author of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. His amazing book, highly recommended. Mm-hmm. Sometimes a Great Notion.
Yeah, but the guy playing it weak, the man playing it tough, just really
kick
loses.
The ass of one of the 10 toughest hombres west of the Rockies,
But he loses in the end.
He does lose in the end.
And
yeah, that's what I mean. He beats one of the 10 toughest hombres by playing it weak. I learned that. I was raised by women. My daddy made one child support payment and disappeared when I was 5 years old. And I was raised by my mother and my grandmother. And I learned a lot of those techniques. There's a lot to be said for playing it weak, You can get all sorts of...
but this is something I was thinking about after
sacrifice your dignity, but if you're nuts to begin with, how much dignity can a nutcase have?
Well, isn't winning everything?
Survival would say so.
Yeah.
As long as you're surviving, you're winning.
One thing that we've talked about over the years, and I think it's really true, is there's such a stereotype in our culture that women are the romantics and men are hard-nosed, and that's so untrue. I mean, you're always going to be wrong when you try to make broad generalizations, but on the whole, I think men are much more romantic than women, and we get fooled by men being the strong ones going out to war and doing hard businessman. But when it comes to how you are in human relationships, I think that men are more romantic. And we have a calendar, I think it's from the Nature Conservancy, that shows a male night heron, some type of night heron, doing this just amazing mating display. And, that's what, we're still doing in humans. The men have to go through all these rituals of display to prove themselves to the woman, and that's what the candy and the flowers and all those things are. And so,
don't leave out the perfume industry, the fashion industry, the makeup industry,
But when I'm talking about the things,
candy
the
industry,
men,
the flowers industry. You don't send me flowers anymore.
But what I mean is that the man's required to put on this display. I mean, think of the size of an engagement ring. I mean, that's the display.
That's
the way we, humans do mating displays is what size diamond can the man afford.
Diamond envy.
That's right. Oh yeah. This women go around like this when they've gotten engaged.
Not to mention the spectacle known as the wedding.
But but so it looks like, because the women are the recipients of these things, that they're the ones desirous of being romanced. But it's like, talk about hard-nosed business people. The women, they're, like I said, going around like this. It's very much all built on, how much, getting the calculators out and seeing, whether whose man is providing better, and women are very, very hard-nosed. We've noticed that in business dealings when we've tried to deal with women business owners. They're much harder to deal with than men.
I'd much rather deal with a man in a lot of business.
Yeah, because women are much more like hard-nosed about business and money and ungiving.
Separate checks? Yeah, separate checks.
That's right. So
ask any Waitron unit, a waitress or waiter, about
Yeah.
about waiting on a table of women.
Group of women.
But, there's reason for that. There's always grounds for compassion, or the insanity defense,
Yes.
which is the same thing.
Yes.
That women are the nest builders. They're the keepers of the flame, the next generation. They produce the baby, they suckle the baby, and they got to keep the cave clean and maintain a hold on Mr. Crazy, who would,
Sure. Dive out the door after some new female flesh at every chance possible. But
if a man could have a choice.
But I also think of it, from the compassion for the men, because I think men have suffered because they've had to keep the stiff upper lip. They've had to hide how hard life is for them. The emotional costs of things like going to war, the emotional costs of having to stand up to the boss, or try to stand up to the boss and get a raise, or just deal with the indignities.
Stand up to the woman you're in a relationship with.
And men are, if you're told that you're you're not emotional, you're not romantic, but you feel like that inside. You want to cry because life is so hard, but that would be unmanly. I mean, how many men have suffered just a lot of agony because of this?
Especially, in the 50s, that was so true. I mean, the macho, if you want to look at any movie from the 50s or 40s or, right on back, just, you had to be tough. A man was nothing but a fist and another appendage, and that was pretty much it. Very little brain required, just Mr. Tough Guy, fearless, courageous.
Oh yeah,
doing
they really
the right thing.
really showed women with brains in the 50s, and I guess nobody had brains in the 50s. But
half woman, half baby.
What always bugged me about
Mystery Science Theater
films in the 50s, women, they always had to fall down. I mean, no matter how competent the woman seemed, and sometimes they were actually competent, but at some point in the movie they had to actually fall down, and be helpless, and be rescued.
That's right. But those are ancient. I'm really not. I don't want to get bogged down in male-female relations.
Sure.
I want to look at relationship among people a lot. And when I was thinking about, it's kind of a spontaneous show today, and what came up for me was loneliness. The loneliness of the life experience. There have been a handful of times in my life when I've had a friend that was like what I consider a real friend, where you hung out together, you saw each other several times a week. It was like play, especially younger years.
Yeah.
But later in life too, there were, you get together for dinner 2 or 3 times a week. You really want to be together. And for me, that has been extremely rare. And even then, when I look back at times in my life, like when I was a musician in San Francisco and knew a whole bunch of people and saw people every day and interacted and thought I had a lot of relationship in my life, when I look back at the quality of that relationship, it seems like, you can log in the hours, you can rub elbows with people all you want, but do they know you? Do they know you? Do they understand you? An even better question is, do you know or understand yourself? And the answer, of course, according to us, is hell no, you don't. To quote John Boehner, whatever his name is. Hell no, you don't. We've learned to think we know ourselves and think we know reality, and according to our work, we don't have a clue. Neither does the greatest scientist. Not one dot of matter is identifiable by our God, our current God of science. They don't know what this stuff is. They don't know what we are. Neither does philosophy. Neither does religion. They got some nifty theories, but they don't know. Nobody knows. None knows but the Father or Mother or whatever.
So what are you saying here? I mean, so you're lonely, and
yeah, damn right I'm lonely. I've been lonely all my life. I've had a fantasy of my gravestone saying "alone" on it.
Well,
alone with the beat of my heart tonight.
Well, maybe you're just like me, a sociopath, and have a lot of trouble
That's
having
for sure.
relationships with other people, and you're just rationalizing that, and so universalizing your pathology. I mean, just because
universalizing my pathology. I like that. I like the ring of that.
I know
It's called projection. Projecting
That's right.
my wretched, freakish nature on everybody else.
I mean, all sorts of
Certainly
people.
that's true as far as it goes. But, we employ this thing we think called logic, to see how well this holds up. I mean, what kind of friend can you have? Thomas Wolfe, God, I wish we could quote that. Would probably be sued by the Thomas Wolfe estate. But get a copy of Look Homeward Angel and look at that poem, a rock, a leaf.
That starts it.
Who of us has ever known his mother's heart or his father's heart?
Yeah.
Who? Even though we were part of her, we were gestated in our mother's womb. What did we know about her ever?
Yeah.
My mother, who's been dead for 5 years, and I loved her, and I've spent just huge amounts of time with her and around her over the years, gone through all sorts of ups and downs, and in the last, many years, 20 years maybe, had a wonderful relationship with her. I didn't know her. I didn't know who that really was. Mm-hmm. So that gets kind of tricky when you start thinking about how great your friendships are. I mean, I think friendship is a word like love. It gets bandied around very loosely, like God.
Yeah.
You don't know God. Are you kidding? It's like, that another great cartoon I saw once of a young, enthusiastic minister up in the pulpit saying, his socks are as big as California and his underwear is the size of Texas, trying to instill magnitude of the big bopper. We don't know what we're talking about, but our ego, the way our minds are programmed, requires us to go around acting like we basically have life pretty well figured out, including our friends, and that's enough. And what we're saying, cornerstone of our work, and then I'll shut up, the cornerstone of our work is the basis of all fear is the unknown. The source, the only source of all fear is the unknown. And you know what? You can't be satisfied when you're afraid. And because we know nothing absolutely other than something's going on, and don't pick the words apart, just, something's happening. That's the only thing we know absolutely. Know is a very big word. And the exigencies of survival require us to go around through life acting like we know basically all we need to know. But it is never satisfying. Don't kid yourself. It is not satisfying. And a friendship, just like a friendship based on not even knowing who you are. I mean, what kind of friend could you really have? I mean, how deep could that possibly go? It goes only so far. Basically, and I really will shut up. Basically, it's you buy my act and I'll buy your act. You buy mine, I'll buy yours. We tend to befriend people who agree with us and who we're comfortable being around, that don't really challenge our number.
Well, I'd love to do a song, one of the songs you picked out for this show, The Mountain, because I think that would lead into some things I would like to talk about. But
Okay.
I'd like to do the song first. We just do it in G?
Let's do it in A flat, just to have a capo on. Feel comfortable with a capo on.
Right.
Kind of controls the strings a little bit more. Maybe take it off. Yeah, let's do it without. Let me hear you. Are you tuned? Something's out. Go ahead and do a quick tune-up.
All right. Well, you can keep talking.
I'll keep talking. Oh my God! Now I have nothing to say. No.
You have nothing to say. Hey, listen. This is a moment in TV history.
She's got my number. That's another part of relationships. We think we have everything else figured out. It doesn't take long for us to think we have our beloved, our spouse, our significant other figured out, and our friends figured out. And we don't like being surprised. That's why if you ever really start changing, you notice that your old buddies really don't support you. If you hang out in bars and get drunk with them all the time and you clean up your act, you stop drinking, you're going to lose those friends, or you're going to find a lot of resistance. They're going to push booze on you. You start walking a spiritual path, look out. You're not going to get supported. They're going to call you a religious fanatic or a true believer, so that's pigeonholed. They get it figured out. Put somebody or something in a slot. That's why I just like knowing the name of birds and trees.
Let me hear that again. Something's out down here. I don't know what it is.
Well, it says it's
it's a yellow-bellied titwillow, and somehow you kind of appropriate it. You think
you like your B flat.
You think I know it's always sharp. A B is always sharp. It means you know something. If you know it's an oak tree, you can dismiss it. You don't really have to give it that much attention anymore. It's a water oak.
But that's a good point about when you really change your behavior, you lose a lot of your quote friends, unquote.
Quote friends.
It says a lot about what the relationships were really based on.
You buy my act, and I'll buy yours.
Well, yeah, and it's like based on just some superficial list of behaviors that you're doing certain things the same, and so when you quit doing those things the same, you find out there's really no other grounds for the relationship other than.
I promise to love, honor, and obey, and buy his BS as long as we both shall stand each other. Something. Yes, better. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This isn't right. B flat. Ain't no big thing, baby, and B flat.
Okay.
Sorry about this, folks. You can tell the show's unrehearsed.
Particularly today.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
I saw a young musician play out on the noisy street, and the sounds he made were all but lost in the city's pounding beat. As I passed by, I caught his eye, and I saw more than I'll tell. But it was something to do with Beethoven's spirit, trapped in a windowless cell, and the hands that made music from nickels and dimes reached out of a frustrated hell. See how the river cuts mountains down when they block off its way to the sea, and the forest trees press towards the light, no different from you and me. And the mountain that stands between us and the light is a mountain that's made up of lies. We gotta climb it, find our way through it. We've gotta find our own path down to the sea. I saw a drunkard stumble by. His pride had lost its hold. His fists dared all to disapprove, and his face was whiskey bold. As he passed by, I caught his eye, and I saw more than I'll tell. But it was something to do with a spirit of love in a world lost to its spell. And that bottle he sucked was a ticket to ride out a lonely connection through hell. See how the river cuts mountains down when they block off its way to the sea, and the forest trees press towards the light, no different from you and me. And that mountain that stands between us and the light is a mountain that's made up of lies. We've gotta climb it, find our way through it. We've gotta find our own path down to the sea. I knew a man who preached the word, and he lived like he believed. But in his heart, somehow he knew his prayers were not received. As I passed by, I caught his eye, and I saw more than I'll tell. But it was something to do with Jesus' words. I remember them oh so well. He said, unless you're in love with the whole universe, don't kid yourself, you are in hell. See how the river cuts mountains down when they block off its way to the sea, and the forest trees press towards the light, no different from you and me. And the mountain that stands between us and the light is a mountain that's made up of lies, and we've got to climb it, cut our way through it. We've got to find our own path down to the sea. I know how much you've suffered hurts. There's no need to pretend. We're all in this the same hard way, and there's just one way to win, and that's to look deep enough into your eyes and mine, and you'll see more than you can tell. There's an ocean of love that is dammed up by fear, and a journey that's unparalleled, and the way to find heaven's by loving it all, beginning with what we call hell. See how the river cuts mountains down when they block off its way to the sea, and the forest trees press towards the light, no different from you and me. And the mountain that stands between us and the light is a mountain that's made up of lies. We've gotta climb it, find our way through it. We've gotta find our own path down to the sea. We've gotta find our own path down to the sea.
Wow.
Pardon me.
And just what I love about that song, and I've always loved that song since I first heard it, was the compassion that it shows for all kinds of people. That it's so easy to make fun of people. It's so easy to belittle people.
Judge.
And to judge, negatively judge in particular. Other people, and to not really see their heart. And for me, that's why I wanted to do this song in our relationship, because that's what stands in the blocks our relationships, is we're judging people on these kind of superficial layers that we perceive, and we're not looking through into their hearts and seeing what's really in their hearts. And I think that that really everybody really has that heart of that ocean of love inside. Even someone like Hitler or Ted Bundy, it's just harder to perceive in those people. And it's because they've got so much more blocking it. But it is in there, in everyone. And but some, just all those verses, the seeing the musician, maybe they can't play. Maybe that feeling inside is in there of Beethoven, of that spirit of music, and yet it's just they're for whatever reason it can't be manifested. But that doesn't mean they that to judge them negatively is just as a bad person. And that's kind of what we tend to do, is to go beyond just, well, they're not very good musician, to they're bad in all ways. They're a bad human being. And we so much of it is to make ourselves feel better about ourselves.
Right.
We do that, and it also makes me think of this psychological phrase called fundamental attribution error, where if I'm struggling, if you watched me play at all, you can say I'm no great musician over here. I struggle making basic chords, but when I have trouble with a chord, I think, oh well, I didn't have enough time to warm up today. I always give myself. I have all sorts of rationalizations for my behavior, I really, I know that I have the spirit of music in me, and it's just, this or that's outside external factors that have made it difficult for me today. But when we see that same flaw in somebody else, we say, oh, they're a bad musician. Oh, they're just, they're just so deluded about who they really are.
Too lazy to practice.
Right. We don't give them the same benefit of the doubt that we give ourselves. And we're just so quick to just heap all sorts of negative judgment on other people and not see their heart.
And I think you said it exactly right when you say we do it to elevate ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Insecurity is the root of arrogance.
Yeah.
And fierce, determination to be right, to be superior, to show off, to build a pyramid to yourself. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Maybe the more arrogant someone is. We actually think this is true. The more arrogant someone is, the more insecure they are. Mm-hmm. Ugh, mea culpa. I can relate to that. Because I figured a lot of this stuff out. I had some amazing experiences of validation of the stuff we're talking about. We didn't just make this stuff up. We didn't sit around just thinking up good ideas. We actually have the temerity to think that what we're talking about holds up really logically. That, and that's really conducive, especially if you're as insecure as I am, Father walks off in 1949 at a time when divorce was very rare after one child support payment. And you grow up with a single parent and move around a lot and to new schools and insecurity. And, I hate myself, I feel entirely insecure. And, but I have, for some reason, maybe because I have been so outside the mainstream, I didn't get accepted into the societal conveyor belt and didn't conform and didn't be part of the tribe. And so maybe outliers like me who are out here on the edge of the herd, can actually attain a modicum of objectivity about what this thing called life really is. I have the temerity to believe that. I have to believe it. I've experienced it. I've had amazing experiential validations of everything from our definition of love, the experience of unconditional acceptance of what is, to our very, metaphysics that the universe is God in a state of amnesia. The whole thing is a complete cosmic joke, where we don't even exist. Nothing exists but supreme intelligence experiencing a truly unlimited category by being fully able and to experience limitation. That's what the universe is the play acting dress up like kids, a God class make believe, in which we get to play all these parts called us. And it doesn't mean we're God. Careful of that. It means God is us. God is playing life as us. So, and when you get a hold of some information like that, man, you can easily develop a messianic complex and think, God, nobody ever told me this stuff when I was growing up in redneck North Florida. They just said, go out and work. A man's got to work. You work hard and, enjoy, play football and go nuke the gooks and, pay your, just play the game, Harding, play the game and then you die and go to heaven by believing in Jesus or something. And, and thank God or thank whoever, thank nobody, atheist, include that category, that I didn't do that. I was spoiled. I learned to get my way. I learned to evade responsibility and circumvent, consequences for my behavior. My mother spoiled me. She was so guilty out of having no pappy.
So how did your arrogance affect your relationship with other people?
Oh, it was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it still does. I can still see that it does because, when I, had my breakthrough experience, compliments of LSD 25, I tried to share it with other people, and a couple of times it really phenomenally worked. And most of the time, nothing happened. For the reason, from my perspective, is that most people that I tripped with were unable to drop their act.
Wait a second. You're
And-
completely not
was that-
answering the
was
question
that-
at all.
Was that missing your
No, my question is, how does your arrogance, your general overall arrogance based on insecurity, which is where you started, how does that affect your ability to have relationship with people on a day-to-day basis?
I'm arrogant.
Well,
You
so
know, I'm
just asking.
No, I
Because
don't know.
was
I'm
gonna
trying to figure it out. I mean, I don't know. How does that affect my relationship?
Let's say when you go to the
I would rather sit at home flagellating myself with, a piece of barbed wire than go out and make small talk with other people. A friend of mine was a songwriter, right? There's philosophy in idle talk. Well, that's very nice. I'm sure you get a real sense of it. I know what it is. Oh, damn. I know that it's all perfect the way it is. Human self-extinction is perfect the way it is. But I'm impatient. I'm like Reverend Ike. I don't want my pie in the sky by and by. I want my pie right now with ice cream on it. I would like to see the human race kind of get off it, and people stop defending their little tiny turf, their individual turf, and maybe we could open up and share some love and trust and understanding and compassion with each other. I'm furious. You probably look at my face. Have you seen this show before? I'm in an almost perpetual state of anger. I'm really pissed off of this world. I'm from the 60s. We kicked ass and took names in the 60s. We culminating with the resignation of that rat ass Richard Nixon. We took some names and kicked some butt. And I thought we were actually going to get somewhere. I thought the United States of America was going to grow up, not devolve into a senile ass like Ronnie Reagan, Bush the slightly smarter, and Bush the idiot, and Clinton the mediocre, and just a whole younger generation that proceeded to go to sleep as far as I could tell, get out there and worship the god of money, on Wall Street. Holy cow, Generation X-lax, which is a bunch of flaming slackers who don't seem to be doing anything but having kind of liberal opinions, man. You know what I'm saying?
So I guess your answer to my question.
I'm just in a state of perpetual anger, and it's really bullshit because, can I say bullshit before 11 o'clock? Bullshit.
I'm not really sure what the rules are.
Perpetual anger because... Because.
Yeah,
because I'm failing. It's a lie because I'm failing to see the perfection of it. I'm failing to see the perfection of it. But that's where I'm at. I'm failing to see the perfection of it. You know why? Because I'm crazy. I am insane.
Okay, so Arthur, I would say that you answered my question by saying that your relationship, your arrogance negatively impacts your relationship with other people in a profound sense. Number one, you don't even want to be around them. Number two, you're angry with a huge swath of the population a regular basis.
Amen, sister.
To the point where, like you said, you'd rather stay home and flagellate yourself, which is an interesting comment. But yeah, you didn't quite say
I've been doing it all
how.
my life.
Okay.
I said with a length of barbed wire.
Yes, you did. But hey, there's it takes all kinds of things to make the world go around. And I believe you said that your arrogance was based on insecurity, and I would say for most of my life a shyness based on insecurity. But one day I realized that shyness was actually kind of the flip side of arrogant, because what my shyness did was I was always putting the onus on the other person to talk to me, to approach me, to make the first move or any moves at all, because I was shy, and I just didn't have what it took to have those kind of social interactions. And so it was just as self-centered as somebody who was arrogant. And
I did that too. I was arrogant underneath it, but that's how I acted. I was shy and insecure and sensitive.
Yeah. So once when that helped me start getting over my shyness, and I think that one of the things that I always struggled with also in life was taking myself very seriously. And I hated to be made a fool of. And one of the things I have noticed in my relationship with other people in the last 5-6 years or so is I have, and I'm not exactly sure why, but I think it has to do with my bend like a willow philosophy. I am much less worried about being perfect, and I still try to be perfect. But when those occasions, rare they may be, I'm just kidding.
No, she's not.
Those occasions when I do mess up, I no longer think it's a big deal. I can laugh at myself, which is when Arthur mentioned his mother earlier. I loved
Sometimes.
about his mother.
Sometimes you can still get plugged down.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
But, okay, yes. All right.
Let's keep it honest here. The most
I'm
recent
talking-
example I can think of that.
So you did.
This is how I
you
want
have
the show to be.
created-
Let's cut the crap. Let's get real.
Okay, no,
Let's
but
be
you just want
real.
to keep your mouth going. It's
All
like,
right.
as I recall, you had quite a long stretch where I didn't talk. So now that I'm talking, you butt in. So what I notice in my relationships with other people is the looser I am, the lighter I take myself, less seriously I take myself. It's vastly improved my relationship with other people, because I'm no longer trying to hold together some some act of perfection. I'm not like trying to so worried about maybe them seeing me and for who I am, and I'm so much more going with the flow of things and I think that's allowing, at the same time, allowing them to be more. It was like I was looking for perfection in myself, and then I was also looking for perfection in other people. And if they were imperfect in any way, I didn't want to have anything to do with them. I only deal with perfect people, and which so that's like cuts out, as you did your policy of 100% of the population removed from interaction. And, it's just so much more pleasant. Not that I have any close relationships, but just day to day out there in the world, just the lightness of relationships is so much nicer. And I think it's just seeing some of that, scratching the surface of what was in the mountain, the people are, there's so much more to people, and, just judging them on their superficial acts is just, really, I think, depriving ourselves of a lot of the richness of what life is all about.
Well, how about those good folk who are basically, by their lack of engagement, their lack of intellectual curiosity, to quote R. Crumb, sitting on their asses while the world's going down the tubes. I mean, I know this is really dramatic and melodramatic, but the doomsday clock is minutes away from midnight. I mean, the climate seems to be collapsing. I don't think that's a cop-out at all. It's like when I'm in traffic. The reason people drive obnoxiously, because they feel like they're home. On the street, people wouldn't cut you off or run you over or do something really offensive when they're on the sidewalk, because there might be unpleasant consequences right on the spot. But put them in a car or close the door, they think they're home. And they think their cell phone conversation or their careless moves, which endanger your life, that's they're within their sovereign country of their car. And I find that when they threaten me, when it causes fear, something they do threatens my life or our lives, I tend to get really upset about it. I mean, it's a very, very bad habit. It's not accepting reality. And I think the same applies to the condition of the planet, that for the first time in human history, we really are facing the possibility of self-extinction. I don't think it's justifying myself. I think it's a legitimate beef. That's a real problem.
Are you saying this justifies your anger at them?
I think maybe there is such a thing as righteous anger. Wake up. Let's go to Washington and shut that pigsty down. Hey, teabaggers, you want a real cause other than just the fact that you're closet right-wing conservatives? You just want an excuse to act up in public. Why don't we go to Washington and demand a constitutional, amendments that, really give control back to the people, or at least
give it back. How about give it for the first time?
For the first time, right. Take it away from the pigs who are running the show and give it to all of us who really could use it. I guess, but it would require an enlightened public, a public that really cares, that isn't sitting at home with their thumbs up there watching American Idol. I love to pick on that, or Dancing with the Stars, or some other latest obscenity.
So
that's what. So yeah, if that's arrogant, write me down as arrogant, and I probably always will be. A lone freak, a voice crying in the wilderness saying, "We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when." I really hope we don't, Maybe death should be merciful, total oblivion rather than reincarnation, which is what I think. Yeah, that's why I'm alone, because I really do. I think I hold a lot of the human race in fairly regular contempt, because I think we really need to evolve, and we haven't. And that's what this show's about. This is my last ever, man. I'm going to live in Mexico and just, never write another thing or think another thought. I'm just going to sit on a patio somewhere and stare into air for the rest of my life. And, I'll probably be gunned down in a drug shootout, another American idiocy, prohibition still in force, You can swill idiot juice, also called alcohol, till it comes out your rear end, perfectly legal, but drugs, what drugs? Tobacco that's you can buy anywhere that kills hundreds of thousands of people a year? Yeah, I'm in a state of anger. I'm an angry old man. I used to be an angry young man, and the only difference in my declining years is I'm now an angry old man. I think some people should be angry, on penalty of your children being, inheriting a world of debt and environmental horror of untold, maybe billions of people dead in the streets. If we don't wake up, instead of just trying to make a dollar, worshiping the god of business. This is all the freaking public education teaches us in this country is, buy cheap and sell dear.
You know what? I think
how am I doing? Man, this show should be about anger. It should be the anger show.
I think it's.
I'll show you a relationship.
Well, maybe.
Want to be friends with me?
Well, maybe that's what it means to you. Relationship means anger, or that. It's like it's linked in your mind in some way.
A relationship to me means trust and openness.
Well, maybe so that's why you're angry, because you have so much trouble finding openness and trust. But what does your own very philosophy say about that? It's got to start.
It's all perfect.
Inside. Well, no, but
it's an expression of God and amnesia. How much more perfect could it be?
And maybe the openness,
self-extinction is perfect.
And openness and trust starts at home.
Yeah.
Maybe the fact that you have so much trouble finding
yell at me.
Is because.
8014.
You think somebody was going to feel comfortable talking to you after you've been ranting?
Just call and leave an insulting message. I don't care. Tell you you're full of it. At least I'll know somebody's watching. That's good. That's kind of a catharsis because, oh, God. It really is a problem for me is anger. I wish somebody when I was a child had told me what love was. I wish somebody had been a mentor to me. I had mentors. I did. They were very few and far between, and I had to fight seemingly all of American society to get anywhere in life. And it just seems that we haven't learned, I haven't learned. I do the same dumb things in some categories over and over again, still after all these years. And, in a society's seemingly the same way. It just, God. Here we are back. Who's next? Sarah Palin? How about Glenn Beck? How about Rush Limbaugh? How about a goddamn dictator? What do you want? Why don't we completely go back to sleep? Why don't we just push the button, have the rockets, have the missiles go straight up, release their multiply independently targeted reentry vehicles with a 1 megaton in each package, and just let it rain down on ourselves and just end it all. I don't know, probably a lot of good 3D TVs coming, There's good times ahead. You can watch American Idol in 3D.
Well, isn't that
really
that was
exciting?
Randy Newman line that television is, or actually no, that was Matt Groening who did The Simpsons, but he also did these great cartoons.
Is TV the greatest invention ever?
That's right, because it allows people that hate each other to sit in the same room for hours on end without killing each other.
That's right.
And that's. But how much of modern life, the relationships are, I just want to point out the time in case we want to do another song. But, particularly with the internet and virtual relationships, something like Facebook, people talk about having hundreds of friends. And I personally struggle with understanding that, how you can have hundreds of friends on Facebook. I don't really understand what that
Friend.
means.
Yeah, they
Because
don't either. Don't worry.
acquaintances is one thing, and
That's more like it.
okay. So, well, we talked about you quoted, relatively speaking, really fast at the end of our first show, which probably almost no one saw. So, did you want to do that, or did you want to? Or maybe we'll do. We also had Flesh and Blood Woman, but that's going back to relationships.
Go back to relationship. So without enlightenment, nothing really works, and it's obvious I'm not enlightened. What key do we do this in? A flat?
G.
Let's do it in A flat, yeah. I mean, I think I'm angry because I don't have enough love in my life. So maybe if I had more love in me, there'd be less anger, and there might be some possibility of that happening.
Of relationship having?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the philosophy, I would say.
What Randy Newman did right. Broken windows and empty hallways, pale dead moon and a sky streaked with gray, human kindness overflowing. And I think it's going to rain today. And the course is lonely, lonely. Tin can at my feet, think I'll kick it down the street. That's the way to treat a friend. 3 and morning is touching the window. You're breathing soft by my side, watching you sleep while the light grows, feeling a sunrise of new love inside. Now I'm learning to love a real flesh and blood woman instead of a fairy tale dream. I'm falling in love with a flesh and blood woman, 'cause fairy tales aren't what they seem. Fairy tales aren't what they seem. You were my idol, my princess, back when we first had begun. Stop it. I saw you soft and defenseless. I was crazy. I was your shield from the rain and the sun. So high in a tower enshrined you, worshipped you down on my knees, and thought that this love was so hard true, so blindly imprisoned while holding the keys. But now I'm learning to love a real flesh and blood woman instead of a fairy tale dream. I'm falling in love with a flesh and blood woman, 'cause fairy tales aren't what they seem. Fairy tales aren't what they seem. Ivory towers get lonely, princess is lonelier still. Finally saw it, but only when there was almost no love left to kill. I saw in the end what was needed, only the real and the true, and seeing with sight unimpeded, that dreams don't compare to the flesh and blood you. Now I'm learning to love a real flesh and blood woman instead of a fairy tale dream. I'm falling in love with a flesh and blood woman, 'cause fairy tales aren't what they seem. Fairy tales aren't what they seem. Fairy tales aren't what they seem. Fairy tales aren't what they seem.
Visit our website and send us an email. That's also possible. And
questionofmeaning.com.
yeah, but because we're having a good time doing this, and we'd like to know you're
this
out
is
there
therapeutic.
enjoying
Yeah.
watching us, and
Feel
hopefully
drained.
you'll tune into another episode of A Question of Meaning.
You'd better.
So Arthur will be after you.
So long.
Thanks.